The Seahawks defense is getting a lot of love across the board here. You're hearing the last just 2-3 days as a lot of even these analysts and people that really look deeply into the sport talk about it. Daniel Jeremiah was gushing on Seattle radio today about just how good the defense looked and going through the variety of guys when you look at this defense where it's not just a star or two kind of carrying the load across. You're just seeing it, as he said, at all three levels of this team. I think you guys are going to feel this in a bit of the PFF scores that came out of this game, but I think it's as much a notable part of the creativity and a lot of the little flourishes that Mike Macdonald builds within his scheme is that he also has these guys playing at a very high level individually. And Daniel Jeremiah felt like Boye Mafe was on the edge of superstar status almost in the way that he was talking about him and put out a tweet kind of in regards to just that exact same sort of thing. But to kind of illustrate this a little bit, Seahawks had the highest pressure win rate in week 1 at 44.9%. Bengals came in at 44.8%. So that Patriots offensive line is indeed one that you can get after when you look at that. Though the Bengals, when you look at that front four, really what they do is get after the passer, and then they don't always get as concerned with stopping the run. I don't think that we're going to be in that same mode necessarily, but still notable that the pass rush rate was at that high, especially considering all the passes the Broncos ended up throwing. Especially let's consider with this too, the number of short throws baked within the passing attack, because you get a pass rush win as a defender if you're there in under 2.5 seconds. But if the quarterback throws it in 2.3 seconds, it's hard to beat your guy that fast. And, you know, there's a good many scripted throws in there where the Broncos were trying to do that. Nick's held onto it a couple times as well, but really notable where the pressure rate was at on this and why he was talking a little bit about Boye Mafe on this is that your individual pressure leaders through week 1, Aiden Hutchinson with 11 pressures. And of course, they like to tell you, people, a lot of it, and I tend to ascribe to this belief, that pressures are almost sometimes more important than sacks. Because sacks can be reliant on other guys around them, whereas pressures, quarterback hits, talk about how almost you are individually at times able to disrupt the passer and the passing game with it. So Hutchinson, Micah Parsons, your two freak shows at 11 there. Boye Mafe at 9. And Mafe had the sack, but he also had a good job of getting pressures in other places in this game. And he continues to step forward. And as I thought with this defense a lot too with Mafe, last year that straight sack production game after game kind of came down to a closing stop, partly because those guys were getting wore out on defense and they just couldn't bring it as freshly in the later part of the year. But part of it was also that the early portion of the year, Uchenna was pulling the double teams off of him, and then once he started to get double teamed, there was a little bit more neutralization going on. I think you're going to see him get a lot of single blocked attempts in this defense, not necessarily even with Uchenna's presence or other guys providing impact along that line, though that will help. But because of those stacked fronts and because of the drawing away of protections, and Boye seems to really be flourishing with that off the back of week 1. Really good to see, but a lot of defenders. You had Leonard Williams with 5 pressures. He's one of your league leaders coming out of this game as well. I know he didn't get a sack, but you can feel it on plenty of these times where he was hitting the quarterback, how it disrupted the play. The Julian Love interception, for instance, was him in there hitting the quarterback on that throw, forcing Bo Nix to fall to his left a little bit, forcing the throw to have a little bit taken off of it, the accuracy maybe not being exactly where Bo Nix was hoping to put it. It's not a good throw anyway, but it was forced by Leonard Williams' pressure on that play. Pressure is huge for a defense. It is what will allow that defense to really tighten and clamp down on the back end of things, because you're just giving the quarterback no time, and they start to get used to that when they play your defense. I'm not going to have any time. I can't do the 7-step drops. You get those offensive play callers to just rip their whole play sheets out that have any of those 7-step drops in it, going, man, we can call 1 or 2 of these a game. I can't trust my fronts on that. And it's saying something as well. There's some revisionism going on here a little bit with this Broncos line from some coming out of this game where they're going, well, it wasn't a really, the Broncos line was, Knicks and, the line, they don't have playmakers. And okay, you can maybe win me on the argument they don't have a lot of great receivers. You can win me on the argument that Bo Nix is a rookie in his first game, and that's completely valid, but that was supposed to be a pretty solid offensive line. It's not supposed to be an offensive line that you go out there and you dust up play after play as far as the pressure rate goes like that. So I think it is impressive. Yes, it's home. That's going to help. It's going to be probably not as significant once you get on the road, but as I showed above there, this is an offensive line, the Patriots, that is going to probably struggle a little bit with that pressure rate, and a lot like the Broncos last week, they're going to try to get the ball out of Jacoby's hand probably pretty quickly, as he's not the most mobile of guys. He's not going to be able to get away from the pressure and the onslaught at times that Nix was able to get away from last week.